Okay, Nick and Andy, it's that time of the week again. We're going up and down the table. Match week 26 preview, score predictions for all 8 games. Only 8 games this week because of the League Cup final. So let's start at the top of the table. Arsenal against Newcastle. Nick Mendola coming to you. We spoke about this earlier this week in depth, but it seems like it's going to be a lot of goals and maybe a lot of sloppiness in North London.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal coming back from a long trip. Newcastle injury hit still. And just haven't been right at the back. And some of their best players have been Sven Botman and Bruno Guimaraes and Dan Burn and Kieran Trippier over this long period of them becoming a powerful team. And it hasn't been there. And it hasn't been there. 4 goals allowed to Luton, right? 2 goals allowed to Bournemouth. I don't know what to predict here other than goals. And with it being at Arsenal, it is hard to pick Newcastle, except when you look at an Arsenal team that's probably tired and definitely depth challenge. You could argue Newcastle, when healthy, has better depth than Arsenal.
Yeah, it might be a score draw, maybe 2-2, something like that. We're thinking that would be,
I'd take that right now.
Yeah, a bump of the road for Arsenal. That'd be a very good performance and result for Newcastle. Andy Edwards, Bournemouth against Man City. City bounced back from that, drop points against Chelsea in the draw, beat Brentford, Haaland back on the score sheet. In theory, on paper, looks like they should go to Bournemouth and batter them. They've had Bournemouth's number over the years in the Premier League. But this Bournemouth team probably hasn't got the results their performance deserved all season long. So it's quite a dangerous game for City down on the South Coast.
Yeah, this has been a fantastic season for Bournemouth. They should be incredibly proud of what they have achieved this season. I think you know what I'm setting up here. They're not going to beat Manchester City. City, they get the 1-0 victory over Brentford midweek. They're able to rest Kevin De Bruyne, and so they are obviously being very deliberate with his minutes and his games as he comes back from this injury, realizing that they're going to need him to the very end of the season this time. I know he made it to the very, very end last season and then picked up the injury in the Champions League final, but they're going to need him to be at the level that he was immediately upon coming back. They're going to need him and Haaland on the same page, and this feels like one of those games where they kind of start to get their groove going just a little bit more at a point of the season where we typically expect this from Manchester City. So until I see something from them that shows Pep is bringing Oscar Bob into this team in a way that makes me question, wow, is Oscar Bob going to be a world-class player one day soon because of the trust that Pep Guardiola has in him? And so I just feel like he has such an understanding and his finger on the pulse of the team that at this point of the season, they're right where they need to be. So I'll go 3-1 to City, and I think it'll be more comfortable than 3-1. I think we're going to see them kick it into gear over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, they usually do that at this time of the season, right? So get ready, Liverpool and Arsenal. Here comes City. In the European focus of the table, Aston Villa still in the top 4. They host Nottingham Forest in the Midlands Derby. Both teams coming off big wins for them. I fancy Villa in this one at home. They are obviously incredible. Ollie Watkins got another couple on the score sheet at Fulham. He's back to his best. Some big injuries, especially defensively for Aston Villa. And you have to think Forest with Awani, Alanga, Hudson-Odoi, all back fit. We've seen them score and be influential in recent weeks. That gives them a whole different dimension on the counter, and they can catch Villa out if they do it right, Forest. But I think just even with the injuries, the strength of squad that Unai Emery has now at Aston Villa, I feel pretty confident about picking them for this game because I look at the guys coming in. Kamara's out. Okay, Yuri Tielemans could come in. Obviously, Konza's gone down with an injury. Longleg comes in. They still have quality players that can come in when called upon. And that's the reason they built this squad so brilliantly over the summer for Europe. And they're obviously still in the Conference League as well. And I think down the stretch, we might see them stretched to the limits in terms of how far we expect them to go in Europe, as well as a top 4 scrap. But I'm going to go for 2-0 Aston Villa. I think this is going to be a pretty comfortable win for them. But Forest have been okay and have the players up front, I think, to save them any real relegation problems towards the end of the season. Nick Mendola, Manchester United against Fulham. United on a bit of a tear. 4 wins on the trot? Kind of lucked out against Luton last time out after a really fast start. But Fulham are a really strange team, and I can't see them picking up anything at Old Trafford.
Listen, you get 3 points for a win. And Manchester United, for whatever it's worth, they've lost 9 times this year. but they don't draw. They win, and winning is. We usually talk about this with teams at the bottom of the table, mentality wise. You need to get those wins because 3 points, that's 3 draws, right? I mean, I know this is simple math, but I really like the determination. I don't think they're a very good team, Manchester United. I don't think there's a debate there. I bet if you look at the XG table a few weeks ago, they were at mid-table at best. But they've got a forward who's firing now, Højlund. They've got an elite playmaker in Fernandez, and they're getting enough out of the midfield. Casemiro doesn't look elite anymore, but he looks a little reborn from a guy who looked washed at the beginning of the season. So I kind of feel like they're going to pick up enough wins from bad performances, which they've done twice on the streak, that you can bet on them at home against Fulham. So obviously that means Fulham's going to win, but I think I'm not saying they're back, Andy. We've learned you don't say Manchester United is back. You didn't say it last year, but I think they're at a point where mentality wise, they believe they'll at least scrape something out of it.
Yeah, I could see a 3-1 Manchester United against Fulham, something like that. And by the way, the XG table, they are 11th right now on that table. So they are, way off where they actually are at the table. But that just shows
the
you
four wins in a row they've been outshot 3 of the 4 games. And and I know part of that is they've had early leads, and so the game tilts one direction. But to be Manchester United, you have to be able to control games. And when you have a lead, you have to be able to shut the game down. And what happens when Manchester United get a lead? Chance after chance after chance after chance for the other team, and you are just hoping at that point.
Yep, that's true. But we're going to go with Man United to win and make it 5 wins in a row. Brighton against Everton, down on the south coast. Talk about a clash of styles. I mean, we got De Zerbi against Dyche here. Everton not winning games. What's it, 8 now without a win, but drawing a lot of games to actually get themselves out of the relegation zone. Great from set pieces. Defensively, very solid. They've been pretty settled with the lineup back there. And they're going to have to be against Brighton because Brighton now have Adingra back. They have Matoma back. Totally different dimension to their attack with those two up there. And this is a weird one, though, because last season, Everton went to Brighton. What was it, 5-1 they won? They just hit on the counter time and time again, put their chances away. But that's the difference this season. Calvert-Lewin, it's not happening. He's working hard, but they're not. A, it's not happening for him. B, I don't think Everton are really getting in positions to feed him as well, so it's not really his fault. I just don't know where the goals are going to come from Everton unless it's a set-piece situation. So I'm going to go with a Brighton win, maybe 2-1, something like that. I think it'll be a lot closer in the scoreline than actually the play. I think Brighton will dominate as they do. But, I think Everton just got to find a way to try and score goals, and that will give them the edge because defensively, they're very, very good under Sean Dyche. And I guess their season obviously hinges on the appeals and also what's coming up with the other charges they have from the Premier League about these profitability and sustainability rules. So we'll have to wait and see. Nick Mendola, West Ham against Brentford. What do you think about this game?
Jeez, what don't I think about this game? I don't buy West Ham. I think they're in a very weird position in that we've talked about this. They have a roster that even Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp would say, I can do something with that. But David Moyes is a tournament coach, and I feel like they're considering throwing away the rest of their Premier League season because there might not be someone better than Moyes at this stage to help them win in Europe. And so I look at Brentford, and I think there's a team that is used to getting countered against that wants to play football, and I think they should probably go into West Ham and win.
Yeah.
I think they're due, to be honest with you.
Yeah. They're a team that's playing well and aren't getting the points on the board. And Ivan Toney, I think, is going to have a field day against that West Ham defense that is all over the place at the moment. Andy, talking about the strugglers. Sheffield United, they go to Wolves. Only one result here, right?
Yeah. Yep. Wolves look great, by the way, against Spurs last week. They were, and I've been kind of singing their praises a little bit throughout the season, but they were fantastic. Spurs
without Cunha.
Awful. Yeah. You can go back to say, well, they defend well, they counterattack well and everything. They had possession in that game. They made Spurs chase them all over the field. This is a really, really good team. And Gary O'Neill, the situation that he took over, just, could not be more impressed with what they've done this season. So I'll just keep it simple. Wolves are going to win. They're going to win comfortably.
Yeah, I think that's correct. And I think Crystal Palace are going to win against Burnley. Burnley really struggling. Palace, I saw enough from them, even with all their injuries against Everton, created a lot of chances. Obviously, Glasner, this is his first game in charge of Palace, the former Eintracht Frankfurt boss. Intrigued to see how they develop the pressing style that he's really perfected over the years at the clubs he's been at. I think it will suit this Palace team really, really well. I think it's a smart hire. And I think Burnley, bless them, just can't score goals and are not very good at keeping them out either, which is not a good recipe in football. And I think the Premier League just came a little bit too early for them, as good as they were in the Championship last season. So Palace, big home win, and Glasner will get off in style to his reign as a Premier League manager. All right, guys, that was up and down the table. Thanks so much to Nick and Andy. Remember, everyone, head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com for everything you need on all the Premier League games this weekend. It's going to be a fun one. Thanks for watching. Speak to you soon.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.